The rain lashed against the tall glass windows of the Carlton mansion, tapping like impatient fingers on the spotless panes. Inside, chandeliers glowed warmly, golden light dancing across marble floors and velvet curtains. To the outside world, it was the picture of perfection, wealth carved into architecture, status displayed in every polished surface. But behind those walls an unspoken sadness lingered. Richard Carlton, a man whose name alone moved markets, sat alone at the head of a 12-seat dining table. His fortune had been built from steel and construction, but tonight, the titan of industry could barely lift his silver fork. His eyes kept drifting toward the quiet girl sitting at the far end of the table. His daughter, Emily. She was 16, delicate pale, with eyes the color of clear morning skies. Yet those eyes stared at nothing. To Richard, she was blind. She had been since she was a child. Doctors, specialists, clinics from Europe to America. He had taken her everywhere. But the answer had always been the same: no cure, no hope. And so Richard had resigned himself to a quiet, knowing grief. His empire could build skyscrapers that touched the clouds, but it couldn't give his daughter the light of sight. Emily sat silently, as she often did, spooning her soup carefully, almost mechanically. She never complained, never asked for much, and always moved carefully, her hands hovering as if testing the air. But someone was watching her more closely than her father ever did. Her name was Clara, the maid. She had only been working in the Carlton household for 3 months, hired quietly through an agency after Richard dismissed most of his staff for gossiping about his daughter's condition. Clara was young, 24, from a modest town far away. To Richard, she was invisible, just another servant in black and white uniform. But Clara noticed things. One morning, while dusting the long corridor outside Emily's room, Clara saw something strange. Emily was sitting by the window, sunlight spilling across her face. Clara stopped, her feather duster frozen midair. Emily's hand reached out, and for the briefest moment, her eyes followed a bird fluttering just beyond the glass. A small gasp escaped Clara's lips, but she quickly turned away before Emily noticed. That night, Clara watched again during dinner. Richard sat distracted, scrolling through business emails on his phone, while Emily ate quietly. But Clara saw it. When a servant accidentally dropped a spoon across the table, Emily's eyes flicked toward the sound, sharp and precise. Blind eyes don't do that, Clara thought. A chill ran through her. Could it be? Over the next few weeks, Clara observed carefully, discreetly. She saw Emily pause when passing mirrors, her gaze catching fleetingly on her own reflection. She saw her step around obstacles with ease before her cane touched them. And once, when Clara left a book on the table, she returned to find the pages slightly shifted, as if someone had been reading. Clara's heart pounded. Emily wasn't blind. She had been pretending. But why one evening, as thunder rumbled outside, Clara finally gathered her courage. She knocked softly on Emily's door. "Come in." Emily's voice called, soft and melodic. Clara stepped inside, her hands clasped nervously. Emily sat at her desk, facing the window, her posture as perfect as porcelain. "Miss Emily," Clara began, her voice trembling. "May I ask you something? Something personal." Emily tilted her head, her expression unreadable. "Go on." Clara swallowed. "Why do you pretend you cannot see?" The room fell into silence. The clock ticked, thunder rolled, and Clara's breath caught in her throat. Emily turned slowly, her blue eyes locking onto Clara's with a clarity that sent shivers down her spine. "You know?" Emily whispered. Clara nodded. Emily stood, her composure crumbling. She walked to the bed, sat down, and buried her face in her hands. Her shoulders trembled. "I was never blind," she confessed, her voice breaking. "When I was 8, my mother died in a car accident. I was in the car too. I saw everything, the glass, the fire, her face in those last moments. After that, I couldn't bear to see anything anymore. The doctors said my eyes were fine, but I told everyone I was blind. It was easier. If I was blind, then no one would expect me to live normally. No one would expect me to face the world." Clara's heart ached. This wasn't an illness of the eyes. It was of the soul. A wound buried so deep that Emily chose darkness over light. "But your father," Clara began. Emily shook her head violently. He doesn't understand. He only sees problems to fix, things to buy, solutions to purchase. If he knew the truth, he'd force me into more treatments, more doctors. I can't take it. I'd rather he believe I'm blind. Tears slipped down Clara's cheeks. She knelt before Emily, gently taking her hands. Emily, hiding in the dark won't heal you. But maybe kindness will. Maybe love will. For the first time in years, Emily allowed herself to cry in someone's arms. From that night on, Clara became more than a maid. She became Emily's confidante, her secret friend. When no one was watching, Clara encouraged Emily to read books again, to paint, to walk in the gardens without her cane. Slowly, Emily's laughter returned, soft but real. But secrets never stay hidden forever. One afternoon, Richard came home earlier than expected. As he entered the garden, his phone still pressed to his ear, he froze. There was his daughter, his blind daughter, running across the grass, chasing butterflies, her eyes shining with joy. And Clara was beside her, cheering her on. Richard's phone slipped from his hand. Emily, his voice thundered. Emily froze, her smile vanishing. Clara's face drained of color. Father, please, Emily stammered. But Richard's eyes were wide with fury and heartbreak. All these years you could see. His voice cracked. Do you know how many nights I stayed awake, blaming myself? How much I spent trying to cure you? And you lied? Emily's lips trembled. Tears spilled down her cheeks. I wasn't lying to hurt you. I couldn't bear to live after Mom. Pretending I was blind was the only way I could survive. Richard's chest heaved. For the first time in decades, the mighty millionaire's mask broke. His eyes glistened. Why didn't you tell me? Because you never listen, Emily cried. You think money can fix everything, but what I needed was you, Father. Not your money, you. Silence fell heavy as stone. Then, unexpectedly, Clara stepped forward. Sir, she said softly. Don't see this as betrayal. See it as pain. She didn't hide her sight to deceive you. She hid it to protect her broken heart. Richard turned to Clara, his jaw clenched. And you knew? Clara nodded. I did. And I helped her because she needed a friend before she could face her father. The storm inside Richard slowly ebbed. His eyes fell on his daughter, trembling, terrified, yet finally honest. He walked forward, his footsteps echoing on the stone path, and for the first time in years, he pulled Emily into his arms. My little girl, he whispered, his voice breaking. I should have been there. I'm so sorry. Emily clung to him, sobbing into his chest. The walls of silence between them crumbled in that embrace. From that day on, things changed in the Carlton mansion. Emily no longer pretended. With Clara's gentle guidance and her father's newfound understanding, she learned to face the world again. Not as a blind girl, but as a survivor, an artist, a daughter who had found the courage to see once more. And Richard, the millionaire who thought wealth could solve everything, discovered that sometimes the greatest gift isn't money, but kindness and the patience to truly listen. As for Clara, she remained by their side, no longer just a maid, but family. Because in the end, it wasn't riches or medicine that healed Emily. It was compassion. And that, dear listener, is the power of kindness. So if this story touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe. Because sometimes, the simplest stories hold the deepest truths.